Well, I'm so sorry. I didn't have it in my schedule. I don't know what happened.
I'm so sorry, Robina. I hope
I don't
I should have double checked with you, so I apologize.
Yeah, that's fine. We're here now.
Hold on a second.
Because I thought we were meeting on a Monday or Tuesday or something. What happened? How come it became Friday? I don't remember. I don't know what happened to my schedule. Anyway, I'm here. Hello, everybody. All right.
Oh,
So what's the topic? What are we talking about, folks?
we were talking about we were supposed to talk about karma, or sorry, intro to tantra.
Oh, really?
Yes.
All right.
But we also had a request from someone if you wanted to talk at all about Lama Zopa's passing, and if there were any teachings that you might want to share that could benefit us.
I think it's a good idea to do that. Yes. But yeah, okay. Yeah, let's do that. Haven't we met since then? No.
We have not.
I think we.
Oh wait,
since then.
once. When you were abroad, we met once.
Yes, we did exactly. So you're going to offer a mandala, are you?
Yes.
He's going to offer a mandala. So I think he's offering a mandala, the contents of the world, to the Buddha as a request for the teachings. That's what he's doing. We can all do it together.
This ground, anointed with perfume, strewn with flowers, adorned with Mount Meru, 4 continents, the sun and the moon. I imagine this as a Buddha field and offer it. May all living beings enjoy this pure land.
Okay, so we just. Oh, sorry. Good. Okay, so we just motivate, thinking we're going to talk here about the teachings. We're going to mention Lama Zopa. We're going to mention impermanence, and we'll see what else we talk about, so that we can use this as tools, so we can develop our marvelous potential, so we can benefit sentient beings. Thinking like that. So, I mean, did people have any particular questions? Because we have met since Rinpoche passed away.
Yes.
Were there any particular questions?
I think the main question was just that Nanda, who's not here this evening, just said that she felt that we were being presumptuous to ask you for teachings when you were in such a special place at such a special time, and that you know, maybe we should have allowed you to teach more on the moment and less on the schedule. But it's totally up to you. Whatever you think is most beneficial for us to hear right now, I think we're open to.
I'm happy. I mean, it's my job. I do my job, you know. That's what Lama Zopa asked me to do when I first, when he first told me what to do. He said to teach, so it's my job. I must do it. It's my responsibility. So I don't know what to say, really. I mean, the main, I think, yeah. I don't know what to say. Nothing to say, unless somebody has questions about Rinpoche. I mean, you know, the learning. I know when I don't know if I've mentioned this, but when I got the message in the morning, I was doing my water bowls and I saw the email and I sat there kind of shocked. And then I said to myself, what will I do? And then I thought, well, keep doing my water bowls, keep doing my practice. I mean, you know, he's our spirit. For those of us, he's our spiritual mentor, and he's been teaching us all these years because we've requested him to teach us. So what he's taught us, that's the best. That's the practice. So to keep, there's nothing else but to do that. And especially, of course, I suppose we should be like a wake-up call. So in my case, you know, because, and all of us, I mean, you're running a center. You know, my job is to do this, but also my job is to edit Rinpoche's teachings. So I thought that should be a renewed wake-up call for me to keep doing that, get Rinpoche's teachings out, because he won't give me any more. So try to make available his teachings. And then, of course, the other one, the real learning for oneself, is that this, as Pavan Rinpoche says in his text, this will happen to me. I mean, this is the most intense one, isn't it? Besides the sadness and the grief and the loss of a person you're close to, I'm going to die, you know, but we don't like to think that I will die. Everybody else dies. people in the distance die in war zones and countries we don't even know the names of. They die. We're kind of vaguely interested. We read it in the papers. And, we read the news. Then people a bit closer die. People like in our country die. So, oh my gosh, oh, that's Americans. Oh my God, there's Australians. So you read the story because it's your people. And then get even closer, your family die. Then we really feel the grief and the loss and the sadness. Or our pussycat dies or our dog dies. And we can have the grief and have the sadness, but we miss always the main point, that this will happen to me. It should be the greatest wake-up call. We don't really get, in other words, we won't realize impermanence. The way Buddha talks, realize impermanence, meaning have it in your bones, that it's so totally integrated in your mind, you don't have to think about it. So right now, isn't it, what's totally integrated in our minds is the opposite, is the concept of permanence. As Rinpoche says, grasping at permanent me. We know intellectually it's not true, but experientially, emotionally, because of habit, we just assume we're permanent. We will laugh if we say that because we know we're not. This is how deep the mistake is. So the grief and the loss of someone dying is grief and loss. Having compassion, that's compassion. But the actual practice is to think, this will be me. Every day people die, ants die, dogs die, people, and they don't expect to die. They felt, just as Lama Zopa says, they felt like living people. They were living, as Rinpoche says, we divide the world into living people and dying people. It's a really powerful way to put it. And it's like hilarious, It's really quite hilarious. It shows how nonsense it is. And what we believe a dying person is the person who's labeled with a sickness or very old. Oh, that's a dying person, we'll say. But as Lama Zopa points out, living people die before dying people every day. So we've got to really hear this one. And so, of course, the first tendency is to think, well, I'm supposed to think I'm going to die today. As Lama Zopa says, best to think I'll die today. But then we have a panic attack. We think we're supposed to be thinking, I'll die today. I'll die. What am I going to do? I'm going to die. And we have a panic. No, it's not like that. It becomes integrated. When it's a so-called realization, it becomes completely integrated into your mind. It's like a given. It's a deep as an assumption. You know that you are impermanent. You know, because you're not clairvoyant, that you're not certain when you will die. Therefore, logically, today, possibly, I could die. And the fact of the matter is, the name of the day that you die is always today. You don't die yesterday. You don't die tomorrow. You die today. So we should get used to it. Just program our minds with it. And what's the point of this? It's not to freak out. At the moment, when we hear it and say it, it freaks us out. That's because we believe we're permanent. So then we go to the other extreme and panic. But eventually, when we realized it, it's a totally, forget about realizing impermanent, emptiness. Forget about realizing bodhicitta. Just realizing impermanence is one of the first teachings the Buddha gives, and certainly in the Lam Rim, because it completely changes your life. What you get is a sense of urgency. The thought of wasting time would be unbearable. When it's really a realization, it will be unbearable to waste time. So the analogy, it's good to use analogies, I think. An analogy for me is if you've got a flight tonight, you've got to get to the airport. This is a good example. You've got a deadline. You've got something to get to tonight, to say a flight. Think about it. It's 10 in the morning and you've got to get to the airport. You know that. Think about this. This is the point. Think about this. Everything you do from now up till the airport will only be an action that will help you get to the airport and get your flight. You don't start, calling the plumber to fix the problem in the toilet. You don't start painting the walls. You don't start doing the gardening. That would be laughable. Think about this point. Because why? Because everything has to be focused. Everything you do from now until then is to pack your bags, make your ticket organized, book the car, everything you do would necessarily only be useful to get you to the airport on time. That's how to think. And instead of the airport, it's called death. You have to train your mind, which means think about it, program yourself. So what it means is, given that you could die today, put it like this, is like they used to have a thing where you'd put yourself on a wait list for the flights, isn't it? You'd be on a wait list. So you'd always be ready, just in case they called you and told you you've got your flight tonight. Used to be like that, have a wait list. So you'd always be on the alert. You'd do other jobs, but the moment you heard that, on the wait list, you'd galvanize yourself into action to only do what is necessary to get your flight. This is exactly the right, this is the exact analogy. We understand that. We understand a sense of urgency. We understand that. But when we look at our lives, we have no sense of urgency. Why? Because we really believe we're a living person, and that means you're a happy person or a healthy person if you're a living person, and that means you're going to be here tomorrow, and you're going to be here next week, and you organize your this, and you organize your something that in a year's time, in 5 years' time, in 20 years' time. When I paid my mortgage off in 22 years, I'll do this and I'll do that. You plan it as if it is actually true. So there's no sense of urgency. There's no sense of urgency. That's what it means when you've realized impermanence. And it's not like frantic. You're not like having a panic attack. It just is now automatic that you will therefore only do, if you're going to die tonight, this is the logic, and this is the Buddhist approach, of course, because if you're going to die tonight and you're a materialist person, then there's no talk about a future life. Then what you're going to get ready for is to make sure everything's in place. And then you'd check with your family and make everything's okay, and make sure the bank account's fine and your will is written so you can die and leave it all. But if you've got a Buddhist view, this is the logic. Given that the only thing you can bring with you when you die, remember Steve Jobs when he died, he knew he was dying, and he talked about it. You could tell he had this realization of impermanence. Completely changed the way he talked, And the day he died, his sister, she said that, she said they better come quickly, So she said he was packed, ready to go. It's very powerful. He was packed, ready to go. He'd prepared himself. He knew he was dying. He prepared himself. He was packed, ready to go. So that means, given that the only thing you're going to do now is pack your bag and do the things that will help you get to the airport. You won't do anything extraneous. You won't do anything that's not urgent. You won't do anything that will interfere with getting to the airport on time. Same here. So then obviously, if you think you're going to die, you've got a sense of impermanence just naturally, then that means you would not possibly waste your life. You couldn't possibly get upset or angry or start fighting with your sister or complaining about this thing that happened last week or getting depressed or lie. You'd have a sense of urgency. Because everything you're going to do, that means think and say and do between now and this imminent death, has to be something, logically, that will be useful to you at the time your breath stops. And what does that mean? Well, your body's not much use to you at the time you stop breathing. Your house is not much use. Calling the carpenter won't help. Fighting with your sister won't help. Lying back and watching Netflix with a lazy mind won't help. Okay, you can be skillful and lie back and watch Netflix with the bodhicitta motivation. If you remember, we mostly don't. We just feel guilty. None of that helps you get to the next life, because that's where you're going. On a flight, you get to Italy here, but here, death is just the step you have to go through. It's just this transition you have to go through. Death is not really the point. Death is just the transition you have to go through to get to the next life. That should be what you're focused on, getting to the next life. So what kind of life do you want? You want a human life. You want a good human life, a healthy body, So you have to practice. So everything you do to get a healthy body would be to practice morality, which means live in your vows, which means don't kill, don't steal, keep your vows. In that next life, you want a healthy body, but you want also to have a good mind. So that means you keep your vows and you don't steal and you don't kill and you try not to have angry thoughts and try not to have jealous thoughts. That's what you do every day between now and death, because having anything else in your mind at the time of death would be completely absurd. You don't want anger in your mind. You don't want killing in your mind. You don't want laziness in your mind. You want the right seeds in your mind for the right karma to be triggered at the time you die. So you do your practice. You'd remember, I mean, given that you're on the Mahayana path, we're not holy yogis yet. So whatever we do, like eat and go to sleep and watch Netflix, we do it with a bodhicitta motivation, with a very powerful sense of bodhicitta motivation. We wouldn't want to waste the opportunity. So you want a decent human life, you need to have non-killing karma. You want to have a good human condition, like access to things, a good family. So you need things and you need money. You need to be born in a family where you can get taken care of and have food and education. You need to practice generosity to get that. You need to live in your vows and purify your vows, because you don't want to be born with negative tendencies. You want people to be nice to you so you don't harm them. You don't steal, you don't kill, you don't lie, you don't hurt people. So you want a good environment. You want people to treat you nicely. You want good tendencies, you want a decent human body, and you want access to the Dharma. So that's what you want. That's where you're heading. That's where you're going. That's where your plane will take you. You better create the cause, which means practice virtue. Don't waste your life. Be on the alert. Live in your vows. Purify. Do your practice. Remember bodhicitta. Remember emptiness every second. When you got the flight tonight, it's not as if you forget you got the flight tonight. You don't start wandering off and start going shopping and forget you got to get to the airport. That would be stupid. You remember you're going to the airport, and it focuses your attention and you won't forget. So everything you do between now and the airport can only be something that'll get you to the airport. Well, if you have impermanence in your mind, everything you think and do and say now can only get you to a decent human rebirth with good conditions and access to the Dharma. It's logic. It's logic. It's logic. We wouldn't be lazy. We wouldn't be miserable and depressed and get angry and upset. That would just divert us from the job. We'd have a sense of urgency. That's what we lack. We've got this inertia, haven't we? Inertia of attachment. Inertia. Attachment to our comfort zone. Attachment to guilt. Attachment to depression. Not being rude about us. We're all like this. It's incredibly hard to have a realization of impermanence. But it won't come from the sky. It comes from practice. It comes from thinking it. These types of thoughts, training our mind to think like this. This is the lesson from Lama Zopa Rinpoche's death. This is the wake-up call. This is the teaching. It's practical. It's not religion, practical. The inertia of attachment is primordially deep. Attachment kind of just to feel, attachment to good, this is the 8 worldly dharmas, attachment to good feelings, attachment to feeling good. Every single thing we do in a day is driven by this attachment to not feel bad, to feel good, to be in our comfort zone, the right temperature, the right food when we want it, the right drink. Nice words, nice sound, nice smell, nice taste. This inertia, this attachment to our comfort zone, more than sex and drugs and, power. This is inertia, this attachment. It completely blinds us, In other words, it's the attachment so enormous. It's like you're so attached to your food that you literally forget you're going to get to the airport. You're so attached to getting what you want. You forget. So we have to remember death, remember impermanence, because we don't, and it's logic, because we don't know when that flight's going. It's a fact. It's a simple fact. We don't know, so we have to be on the alert. And then when that becomes integrated, your whole life changes. But we have to practice it, thinking like it. Because we're all bone lazy. And it's not critical. It's not being mean about us. It's this constant inertia, isn't it? It's how we are. It's certainly how I am, I can tell you. So we have the three, and this is why we have to have enthusiasm. The fourth of the six perfections. Joyful effort. I mean, it really takes time. Enthusiasm. Perseverance. And what's the opposite? The opposite to perseverance, the opposite to effort, the opposite to enthusiasm is called laziness. And it's this inertia of attachment to being in our comfort zone, mentally and physically. In other words, the obstacle to enthusiasm is laziness. And the first kind of laziness is I can't be bothered. That's exactly the inertia of attachment. I can't be bothered. So you analyze what is it we can't be bothered doing is what attachment doesn't want. Attachment doesn't want to stress out. Attachment can't stand effort. Like you go to the gym, you know, and the moment you're on the machine and the moment you start to puff and the moment, you know, your heart starts to beat, it's suddenly that's the point at which you have to make effort. That's the point that you have to go beyond. But that's when we stop. Oh, it's too much. Can't be bothered. Can't be bothered. And the thing, and this is the logic too, the thing that takes effort is the thing that you can't do, that you're not used to doing. So you're not used to pushing, you're not used to, you know, it's something you have to learn. Anything you don't know how to do, you have to push to learn it. We know if you stop at the moment the pain starts, you will never, your muscles will never change. And of course here, the same. We've got this bone laziness, this inertia to comfort, our comfort zone, mental and physical. The moment it's kind of threatened, then we stop. I can't be bothered. The next kind of laziness is more tricky. It's like a lie. We think it's like a lie. We cheat ourselves. We say, oh, I'm too busy. I'll do it later. This is our worst crime against ourselves. We all know this. And we carry this burden around of guilt of all the things we put off doing. We know that. We're talking here, of course, our practice mostly. I mean, putting off going to the gym is just samsara, but we understand putting it off. I can't be bothered. And the thing that you think you'll do, I'm too busy, I'll do it later, is the thing you can't be bothered doing. And the thing you can't be bothered doing is what attachment doesn't want, because attachment wants to be in a comfort zone. We want to feel unthreatened. We don't like to push. We don't like to make effort. It's too exhausting for us. So we put it off. I'm too busy. And then we feel better about it when we say, I'll do it later, although we know it's a lie. Later never comes. And then we just carry on our back like a tortoise with their house, all these undone jobs, the things we think we'll do later. We understand this. We're all the same. So it takes effort to even think like this. And eventually, of course, when we practice, it becomes effortless. And we know we admire people who achieve things. We admire people who make effort. We admire people who have enthusiasm, who don't give up. And in the Bodhisattva's path, in the six perfections, they say this is the most important one. You can have morality, you can have patience, you can have generosity, but you will never get far because you have to make effort to get anywhere. And absolutely to subdue the body, speech, and mind, and to get to the point of getting a single point of concentration, we need tremendous effort. I mean, tremendous effort to go against the unbelievable inertia of attachment, you know. This is practice. So we have to take it at our pace, but understand this process. So death is like the wake-up call for us to remind us. One of my friends, who's a good nun, my age, same age as me. We're both born in 1944, both year of the monkey. And I remember she died 5-6 years ago in Australia. And apparently she said to the friends who were helping her die, she said the terrible regret of her wasted life, of putting things off, not doing the things she wanted to do, because by that point it's too late. We understand this. We all understand it. And there's no point in feeling guilty. That's just another neurotic thing. But the inertia, when we understand the inertia of attachment, and because you know, we're so overwhelmed by comfort and getting what we want easily and reasonably comfortable houses, and we get air conditioning when we want it and heating when we want it and food when we want it. This preoccupies our lives, you know. And if it takes effort, practice takes effort, then we don't do it. We put it off. I mean, I know it's my entire life. You know, I can see this. You have to make this effort, and you take yourself at your own pace. You must pace yourself, like the gym. You know, you don't go crazy one day and break your back and then do nothing the next week. And this is what's difficult. The thing that the Lamas all say, and it's so logical, when you know the benefits of the thing you want to achieve, it's only then that you will make the effort to do it. So, of course, it's easy to see the benefit of going to the gym. It's easy to see the benefit of going on a diet. But even those, look how hard it is, because we attachment wins us over every time. The cake is so delicious, you know, and the comfort at home, oh, I can't be bothered, I'll go to the gym tomorrow. Even when we see the benefits so nakedly of those simple things, so that to see the benefits to oneself, even of just getting another decent human life. We hear the words, but it's a long, vague, distant idea to us. We have no conviction that my practice today is the cause of the life I will get when I die. We don't, I mean, this is why it's so hard to realize karma, you know. It's so abstract for us. So make effort a little bit every day. And that's why, you see, in the Bodhisattva path, and this is Lama Zopa Rinpoche's incredible kindness and skill, he never stopped giving us methods for applying the Bodhisattva path. In other words, to be able to have your cake and eat it too. Rinpoche was incredibly kind. But we're so full of guilt, you know. I remember one person, a friend, saying, oh, well, you know, you feel all this guilt, you hear about this effort, and then I feel all this guilt when I watch Netflix, you know. I'm lazy. I said, I know what you're saying. I said, why don't you decide very consciously when you watch a Netflix, because we know we're all human, and you decide you're going to make a conscious decision, not out of guilt, not out of shame, but you decide, okay, I'm going to watch Netflix, but you know what, Robina, I'm going to watch it with a mind that I will try and learn about the human mind, and I'm going to do it with the thought of bodhicitta. I'm going to do it with the thought that it'll help me relax so that it can become an action that will help me get enlightened. The motor is when we understand the logic that the motivation behind what you do causes that action to bring that result, then everything we do, that's why Lama Zopa never stopped teaching us, never stopped telling us how to bring Dharma into daily life. Is what he means. To eat, to remember bodhicitta when you eat, to remember bodhicitta when you go to the toilet, to remember bodhicitta when you have sex, to remember bodhicitta when you go to watch Netflix. Well, we don't believe it. Ah, yeah, remember bodhicitta, blah, 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 you know. I mean, we're just plain foolish. So I said to her, you've got two options. You're going to do the action of watching Netflix. So you've got two options. You do it with a motivation of guilt and laziness, or you consciously put in a bodhicitta motivation and you watch it with that. Which would you prefer? It's logical, but we're so guilt-ridden. We think, no, I can't make Netflix practice. No. So we prefer to think of ourselves as guilty. So we hear all this, what I'm saying, we just beat ourselves up. That's idiocy. That's foolishness. Rinpoche has given us this incredible methods. Because you see, whatever goes on in our mind is what brings the result of who I become. We are literally moment by moment by moment creating ourselves. As His Holiness says, karma is self-creation. So that's the thing we've got to get a sense of urgency about. then when we know that, it's like those actions you're going to do between now and getting to the airport. It will be foolish to do anything that doesn't get you to the airport. Will it be foolish to do anything and think anything and say anything that won't get you to another, at least another decent human body? At least another decent human body. Not to mention realizing emptiness, not to mention getting bodhicitta. So we can use the Mahayana teachings to help us be skillful. You're going to eat food anyway, so remember bodhicitta first. You're going to jump in the bed with your new boyfriend or your old boyfriend, then think of bodhicitta first. I mean, it's just so simple. We just have to remember to think it. But we feel guilty. We'd rather do it. We'd rather do think, oh, I'm naughty, or I'm attached. You know, we are, but we can be skillful. This is what's brilliant about the Bodhisattva teachings. We can be skillful. And because we're changing the motivation for what we think and do and say, this also loosens the grip of ego grasping, you know, because we're so convinced, oh, it's a bad action. Then we just feel guilty. No, we can turn it into a good action by changing the motivation. So it means being on the alert. It means understanding the teachings. Then you go to sleep. I mean, for example, Venerable Roger said about Rinpoche that sleep, for Rinpoche, sleep is a disgusting waste of time. I mean, we all know Rinpoche never laid down, even never slept, because okay, that was where he was at. He was a highly evolved yogi. So when I hear that, you know, he's my teacher, so I try to take his advice. I know there's not a possibility in the universe for me to even pretend to not sleep. It would be like a joke. Don't be so, it's like torturing myself. So I can't do it, but it doesn't mean I can't think about it. So you sow the seed. So whenever I lie down, I mean, when I'm doing my evening practice, which will come soon, it's now 8:15 for me, I'll sit down in a minute and finish my evening practice. And as I'm getting tired, all I'm thinking about is my bed. In the morning, I'm doing my practice. All I'm thinking about is my breakfast. I can hear it, you know, I can anticipate breakfast. This morning, I was visualizing my toast and butter with Vegemite on it. Someone sent me some Vegemite, and I had it with my cafe latte. It was a very nice breakfast, but I was thinking about it as I was doing my practice, right? So I think about my bed. As you get older, there's less and less to think about. You have food and you have sleep, you know, isn't it? So I think about the deliciousness of sleep, you know. So when I do hit the pillow, I remember every night I say to myself, may I find sleep disgusting. I can't do it yet, but I sow the seed. Because every thought counts. Every thought sows a seed. When we really have confidence in that, we will find practice fairly easy. But we're so tortured by guilt and I'm bad that, you know, we just can't hear it. But it's so, with the Mahayana view, you see, in the Hinayana level, which is the first level of the practice in Lam Rim, there's more emphasis on behavior. Control your body, control your speech. There's not much wriggle room. There's not much space in there. You learn to be disciplined. Now the Mahayana path, the logic being you're more advanced by now, of course, most of us aren't, but we can still use it, that the motivation is the key thing. The mind is more powerful. The mind is more important. So even though we're still uncontrolled and have no discipline with our body and speech, we can at least remember that and remember the thought of bodhicitta. Of course, it's not real bodhicitta yet, but we're starting somewhere. So we think, I'm going to eat this, why? Just even just the thought, well, you know, I'm eating mainly as attachment. Of course it is. But you put you slip bodhicitta in. And the more we understand that motivation, which means the goal, the purpose for doing what you're doing, is the main cause of the action you do, whether it becomes negative or positive. This is logical. It's like technical. When we remember that, it is just plain foolishness not to remember bodhicitta, or simply to remember emptiness, or to remember impermanence. Just to have the thought puts atomic bombs under samsara. So it's there for us. Rinpoche never stopped telling us this, but we can't hear it, you know. Oh, I'm so bad. Oh, I've got no bodhicitta. No, I can't think Netflix to do it with bodhicitta. I mean, we're just idiots. Rinpoche's trying to tell us how to do it. Anyway, started talking about that. Any questions, people? Anything to say? Any questions?
That was really great, Robina. I'm wondering, do you have to realize impermanence before you realize renunciation.
Bill, how many, I have to then tell you off now, how many years have you been studying the Dharma? I may ask you that question.
20 plus.
Thank you very much. And you dare to ask me that question. I mean, if we, it's like renunciation is the culmination of the first and second scopes. And it starts, it starts with impermanence, you'd say, the way the Lam Rim is presented. You see, it's so the skill of, I think Atisha putting it there, it's all based on Buddhist teachings. He put impermanence there. No, you see, he put impermanence there. He put impermanence of death. He didn't put impermanence of relationships. He didn't talk about impermanence of your cup. He had a very particular agenda there to put impermanence of death, because it was his agenda was to give us a wake-up call so we could get renunciation. That's the point. It's the preliminary to getting renunciation, because as on the basis of the fact that you're going to get to death tonight, you're heading to death tonight, then the only thing that's useful to you is to do the things that'll get you to death, get you to the next life, and that's when you have renunciation. So it's a skillful means. But I mean, realizing impermanence, of course, it would have to be. I mean, realizing gross impermanence is called death. Realizing subtle impermanence can even confuse it for emptiness. So, I mean, but so the way it's written in the Lam Rim, it's a prelude. It's an energizer. It's the wake up call to help us get renunciation. I'd say, I think it put it that way,
Okay.
But I mean, in general, all the steps on the path, you can't get bodhicitta before you have renunciation. You can't get this before you get that. It's all kind of laid out there. So I think the real one of the impermanence one is the death one. Is so skillful because it's the agenda is to be the wake up call.
I guess
we can hear about impermanence. I think you can even meditate on subtle impermanence, which can be confused for emptiness, and it can be very blissful, but it doesn't mean you've got renunciation yet. I don't think. I'm not sure. Okay. So it's very skillful to think about death, which is how we've been talking just here. To be a wake up call, not to waste our life in order to get renunciation. Put it like that. Do you understand?
Yes. I mean, the reason I asked the question was because most of the time when we're talking about realizations, at least not most of the time, but there's a lot of focus on having a realization of emptiness. And there's a really specific definition for what that means in the context of emptiness. And so I guess I'm wondering how the other realizations that we're supposed to have, impermanence, bodhicitta, how they relate to that experience.
Well, that's a whole different question now. So can you please ask me that question again, because I got confused. That's another question altogether. What's your question?
So my question is, we have a very specific definition for having a realization of emptiness. Is that we have a
What do you mean by that? What do you mean by that?
What I've been taught is that when you have a direct realization of emptiness, it's like pouring water into water. Your mind, you can't go backwards from that. But it seems like some of the other realizations you can lose.
Of course you can. That's another stuff. But that's another question again. So what's your question, please, Bill? That's a third question. So what is your question actually, if you have one at all? Maybe you don't have one.
I thought you answered it pretty well the first time.
Okay, that's fine. So we leave it there. Are there any other questions from anybody else?
I'm sorry, Robina.
No, don't you worry. Thank you, Bill. Any other questions from anybody? Anybody have something to say or ask or talk what we should talk about, perhaps? No. But I think I'll talk about Lama Zopa Rinpoche. I think I did talk to you at Kopan, didn't I? I was there, and I mean, I think it was nice. I was there for a couple of weeks. And it was just, and I think more than one thing that really struck me was just the intensity of this system, this amazing body of knowledge. You really, when you're there, it's like living in front of you, I mean, the energy that was put into these prayers and practices all over the place, 24 hours a day, like the nuns every night did Vajrayogini self-initiation. The monks every morning did Yamantaka self-initiation. Throughout the day, 24 hours a day, working prayers next to where Rinpoche is. And then in the Chenrezig Gompa, we were there in the morning at 6:30, we did prostrations and prayers. And later in the day, we did Tara. Then we did Lama Zopa. Then we did Vajrasattva at night. Every day, people practicing. And that's what I suppose is very encouraging in the Buddhist view, especially the Tibetan Buddhist, where there's this system of recognizing reincarnations and the very strong system of guru devotion. There's this incredible urgency in this, putting all the energy of your grief and sadness, not just into sort of self-pity, but channeling it into this wish that the Lama come back. This is for me so powerful, you know. And it was so kind and wonderful that Venerable Roger and the Abbot of Kopan and a couple of the board of directors of FPMT went and saw His Holiness in Dharamsala. And he was so kind in saying he would make sure he would find the incarnation, he would recognize. And then he talks about all the time these days about how he's going to live for 10, 15 more years. And he said he can see himself. He said it pointed to his up here, the incarnation. So he's even visualizing, imagining this person. And he said, I'll be able to take, when he's naughty, I can tell him off, he said. So I mean, this is so encouraging from His Holiness, so unbelievably kind, you know, really trying to take care of us, so kind, and already visualizing, imagining this incarnation coming. But the thing also we have to remember, maybe we talked about this, and I think we forget this. We did talk about this. You see, when we think of a Buddha, let's say Lama Zopa Rinpoche's Buddha, those of us who are his students see him as a Buddha. If he's a Buddha, then from their side, Buddhas from their side can do exactly what they want, when they want, and how they want. They have perfect wisdom, perfect power, infinite compassion, can manifest in whatever bodies they like, wherever they like. It's effortless. They've accomplished that capacity. But what we think, oh, well, then so kind of we just sit here patiently, you know, twiddling our thumbs, waiting for Lama Zopa to come. No, it's not like that. The students' aspirations and wishes and prayers, which is what's being expressed all over the world now and what's expressed at Kopan 24 hours a day, we are the ones who create the cause for Lama Zopa Rinpoche to manifest. It's a bit like if you've become a doctor and you set up your little office and you put your sign on the door, but no one comes. You wouldn't stay, would you? You'd move to another city, wouldn't you? You wouldn't stay. So when you're not, if you're not wanted, then you won't be there. So we have to create the cause. That means aspiration, wanting. Like I think I might have said that sometimes we feel that's rude in the West to say what you want. But look at that prayer, you know, we'll say it in the end of the session. Look at that prayer of Kadrila, you know. In tears, begging Rinpoche to please arise from the Dharmakaya. Please come back. With tears in my eyes. This is the thing we feel again, this inertia, you know. We have to create the cause. And of course, during our practice, I mean, this is like I said, when I read the message that morning and I was doing my water bowls and I saw my message and I thought, what will I do? And I thought, keep doing my water bowls. This is my job. This is what I'm learning from this teacher, you know. So I do the practices that he's taught me, continue to practice, no other choice. That will create the cause to meet the teacher. And I think it's important to try and understand that relationship. Sometimes we mystify it so much, you know. I think the word devotion, I think it's such a lovely word, actually. But we get nervous about it when it's religion, right? Like, because you can visualize fanatic people and, you know, but devotion, simply, I mean, bottom line is, as Buddhists, what we're trying to accomplish, very simple, bottom line, is to lessen and eventually rid our minds utterly of all delusions. These words are so simple we can't hear them. That's one aspect of the job, and the other job is to develop and eventually perfect the good qualities. Because Buddha has found that the delusions are not at the core of our being. So our job as a Buddhist is to lessen delusions and grow goodness. That's it. That's the bottom line. So when the mind is full of delusions, when attachment is there and anger is there and jealousy and depression and low self-esteem and grasping and inherent me, they are what cut us off from others. They block us because they're overwhelmingly self-centered. Just their nature is that they're self-centered states of mind. So they blind us from what's outside us. We can't see past our own nose. So when you've got a person like a teacher, a mentor, and this could be in any field. If you're trying to learn tennis, it's exactly the same. It's not unique to religious path. You've checked up on the teacher, you've checked on their qualities, you've checked on the other students, and you commit yourself to study with that teacher. So it's obvious that the more devotion you have for that person means the more your heart is open. When your heart is open, your heart is not deluded. When your mind is deluded, what does he understand? What does he think? Why is he saying that? You're blocking yourself from hearing a word he's saying. When your heart is open, which means your heart is light, that's how you are when you're devoted. That's why you've got to choose your gurus very carefully. So devotion is a practical quality to have that lightens your mind, that opens your mind. And when your mind is open, you can hear the advice easily. You'll do it immediately because you hear it, and your heart is light. That means your heart has love in it, it has compassion in it, your heart is soft, and you're loosening the grip of ego when your heart is devoted. So devotion is an incredibly marvelous quality, but choose the object of your devotion very carefully. Otherwise you'll be led up a garden path. So devotion is buoyant. It's a powerful quality to develop. So choose the object of your devotion so carefully. And then you will become like them, as Ven Robina says. Choose your guru carefully because you're going to end up like them. So it's practical. It's practical. It's a practical thing. It's not religious. It's the simplest way to learn something. That's why Tsongkhapa says it's the foundation of all the Gelugpas say, and the Lamas say, especially Tibetan Buddhists. It's the foundation of the path. Initially, it sounds so abstract to say that guru devotion is the basis of all realizations. It seems so weird. We can't get it, but there's logic to it psychologically. And that means having respect. Because if you are seeing that person as a Buddha, when you look at someone like Lama Zopa Rinpoche around, for example, the Dalai Lama, it's unbelievable the example he shows. It's clear he sees His Holiness as a Buddha. The way he shows unbelievable respect, with his body and his speech. Unbelievable respect, because you're practicing seeing the Guru as the Buddha. So who is the beneficiary of that? Clearly, the person who has those thoughts. The Dalai Lama doesn't need devotion. Lama Zopa Rinpoche doesn't need our devotion from our side. From his side, he doesn't need our devotion. Our devotion benefits us. So if you have a person who's a teacher, well, some of us have lots of teachers, we should develop that attitude, call them respectfully, be respectful towards a person, because respectful behavior is an indication, isn't it, of a devoted heart. It's very beneficial. Then we are the beneficiary. We will get the result because our minds will be wide open to that advice. We'll quickly become a Buddha ourselves. Somebody want to ask me some questions?
Yes, may I have a question. Can you hear me?
I can. Who's talking to me? I want to know.
My name is Deborah.
Hello,
I'm
Deborah.
in Vancouver, Washington. So I missed the other part because I was working and I just got off work.
Yes.
And I'm driving home.
I can see that. Your seatbelt in your right arm. That's all I can see. I can't see your face.
So,
but I'm there, Deborah. How can I help you, sweetie? How can I help?
Well, I was kind of wondering about the karma part of it. My question is, how does our karma come into play with the people who come into our lives? And because from my understanding, it's our responses to other people and how we conduct ourselves with other people is a way for us to get more self-awareness, right?
Keep going.
Okay, and so I'm wondering, the reason I'm asking this is because I noticed at this point in my life, I've been studying with Dan Black.
Yes.
And so he's in Oregon, and so I've been joining his groups on Zoom, and
Yes.
I'm in the process of taking refuge. I'm in the process of it. So I'm wondering, how does the people that come into our lives, it would seem that the people that is now present in my life seems to fit well in terms of what I'm going through and the changes I would like to make.
That's right, darling.
So I'm
So
kind of
the
wondering,
way to
I'm not sure.
that's right, Deborah. So sweetheart, the way to understand that, it makes sense. You think about this. You think if you suddenly start to get involved in tennis and you think about tennis and you read the tennis news and you go to the tennis every day, guess what? You'll keep bumping into tennis players, won't you? Won't be surprising, because you created the cause by wanting tennis. So if you start becoming an alcoholic now, guess what? Before you know it, look at the people you're going to be meeting, all suffering people, all drinking alcohol on the street. So whatever we do in our mind attracts the thing that we're, so if you're going to be moving into a spiritual path and you're going to be, and you want that, you create the cause to meet and recognize exactly those people. So yes, that's how karma works, sweetheart. You're in charge of it. You create the cause. Absolutely. Does that make sense to you, Deborah? Yeah, it's frozen. She's frozen. Do you remember, do you not hear what I said, Deborah?
No, I didn't. Can you repeat it? Sorry, I lost reception.
Did you hear nothing I said?
No, I hear you now, but I didn't hear you on the parts that you were actually talking before and answering my question. I heard about the tennis and alcoholics, and then it cut out.
Okay, so you did hear something I said.
Some of it, yes, but not the rest of it,
Okay.
which is the part that I'm.
Well, that's the answer. What I'm saying is what goes on in your mind will produce who you meet. Obviously, will produce what you look at, will produce the decisions you make, will therefore produce who, sometimes karma ripens without expecting it. Sometimes, some bad things happen or good things happen. But in general, the direction you put your mind, that will determine the choices you make and the people you meet. So that's exactly right. You are correct in what you're saying. So that's marvelous what you're doing. So you go for it.
Yes, it's funny that that also it also brings forth the challenges that I'm going through now. So it's like meeting the test and navigating myself not how I was before, but on a different path.
I understand that. So you're doing well, Deborah. So keep moving, and you stick to Dan. He's a good man.
Yes. He mentioned you quite a bit, and so that's how I got your link from Jiwa.
Good, darling. Wonderful. You keep moving, Deborah. You're doing great.
Thank you. Okay.
Good, sweetheart. Who else would like to ask me something or say something?
Deborah, please tell Shiwa we said hello.
Yes, I will let him know. We
love him very much and miss him so much.
Please,
well, when
are there any other questions
for the reading, I'll let him know.
Good, darling. Are there any other questions there in the chat, for example, Bill? Nothing in the chat?
I don't see anything in the chat at this time, Robina.
Oh, okay. What time is the class supposed to finish?
In about 20 minutes, but
Okay.
it's fine, whatever you'd like to do.
So then okay, so I think, what to say? I've talked a bit about Lama Zopa Rinpoche, death and impermanence. I think that's what else would you like me to talk about then, Bill?
Well, I mean, the original topic was just to touch on Tantra a little bit. So I'm not sure if that segues well from where we've been or not. But this has been a wonderful teaching already. So from my perspective, I really found it helpful.
Good. Okay. I think nothing much to say about Tantra tonight. Another day, I think. Yeah, I think just keep thinking about trying to learn, use this freshly, especially you're close to. I mean, I think that the impermanence one is the main one for me. It's been the main teaching. I'm sad about Lama Zopa. I don't want to go think about it really too much, but his not being here anymore. I'm encouraged by His Holiness taking care. That gives me great courage. And I just, but I think the one of impermanence, the main lesson for me is not to waste my life, just to get a wake-up call. And that takes effort. It really does. And I've been practicing all these years and I still see this inertia of the laziness. So it's not to put myself down, but just we have to be realistic about ourselves. And I think the interesting point is we know ourselves. When we do make effort, we get great pleasure. We get great satisfaction from it. We're really pleased with ourselves when we do make effort. That's how we have to pace ourselves. We have to pace ourselves, like have a disciplined practice and get up at a certain time. And okay, it depends on our personality. Some people can be fanatic about it and you can break your back. So you've got to be skillful. But I think we get, when we make effort, we get pleasure from it. It gives us pleasure. So that's great. So be delighted with yourself, And like I said, use the skillful teachings of Lama Zopa Rinpoche to bring body to be the concept, this whole idea of motivation. This is the essence of it. And Rinpoche has been teaching this since I've known him. That's his ability to try and help us, because most of us are not going to give up sex, drugs, and rock and roll and go to the mountains, which is the ideal way to get realizations. So what he's doing is giving us methods to transform our ordinary, lives of attachment into something that's useful. And that is to know the way the mind works, the motive. And you just have to remember it, just remembering. We think when Lama Zopa says, remember bodhicitta, we kind of get confused because we think he's saying, I want to feel bodhicitta. Well, you can't, it's not possible. Bodhicitta it's not possible to have that level of feeling. You can't force a feeling, but you start with the thought. Just remember it. Remember emptiness, remember bodhicitta. Just the thought of it is atomic bombs under self-cherishing, atomic bombs under ego grasping. When we realize that, we'll just have the thoughts all the time. And it's so easy to think something. You're on the toilet, think about emptiness. You're on the toilet, think about bodhicitta. Just easy to remember. And then the more we practice, like if you decide with your food, before you shove the food in mindlessly, because attachment runs the show. Attachment makes you think about your coffee in the morning. Attachment makes you go to the kitchen. Attachment makes you go to the fridge and get the coffee. Attachment is there the whole time, governing your actions. You don't forget, oh, what was I doing? Making coffee? Or what's that? No way. Everything is driven by attachment. So then you just add bodhicitta into the mix. Don't get guilty. You just put bodhicitta in next to the attachment. And so it'll loosen the attachment. You'll still drink your coffee out of attachment, but you've put in bodhicitta. It's so skillful. It's so easy. This is the most brilliant way to use your ordinary life and make it practice. He's so kind, but we can't hear it, We're so fundamentalist. This is the easiest thing in the world, and it becomes practice. You go to sleep, remember bodhicitta. You wake up, remember bodhicitta. You have your food, remember bodhicitta. Remember emptiness, just say the words. This has no intrinsic nature. Even as Pabonka Rinpoche says, even if you don't know what emptiness means, just to think that breakfast doesn't exist the way it appears. Just think that Netflix movie doesn't exist in the way that it appears. It's like a miracle. It's like atomic bombs under the delusions. It's so skillful, it's so intelligent. Yeah, so I think we just have to do the swift prayers, swift return prayers for Rinpoche. We'll meditate slowly on the words and we'll visualize Tara, let's say. Well, why don't we just get that? We're doing this every day for the Shanti Deva Center in New York, every day for the 49 days. We've got these 30-minute sessions where we do this Tara prayer. So let's just do this Tara prayer first. I think I have to, if you can help me share the screen, let me share the screen. You let me share the screen, and then I can, let me share the screen and I can say this. We'll do this Tara prayer that we've been doing every day. Can you take the prayer down for the moment? Just leave it
Yep,
there for
and I just made you a co-host, so you should be able to share.
Okay, that's great. Let me just find the prayer first. Song of Tara. Song of, I have to find it. Here we go. It's called, this is lovely, but we've been doing it every day. It's just, oh, it's a very strange version of it. What happened? Where is it? Maybe this one. Here we go. So this is a prayer that I think someone found it on Venerable Tibetan Children's website. And it seems like it's a prayer written by this young yogi that Lama Yeshe translated. And it's just, and I think because you see, we need our hearts open. So this prayer, His Holiness told us that we should do the Chittamani Tara prayer, puja. But this prayer for me, it's just like very devotional. We need our hearts to be moved. So let's just visualize. I'll show you here. There's a picture of, I haven't got it. I have to find the right version. Hang on a second, people, it won't be long. Tara, where are these prayers? This is correct one, Mahamudra White Tara, Song of Longing. Where is it? No, this could be this one. No, I don't know. This is a picture of Tara anyway. Let me show you the picture of Tara. Tara practices. Here we go. Praises, Tara practices, Tara, the practice of Buddha Tara. Here we go. This is the one. Okay, I'll share the screen now, and then we'll do this practice. Where's the screen? How can I share it? Where is it?
Right at the bottom.
Wait a minute. I'm just going to organize all my files out of the way so I can see it. Okay, here we go. Okay, here's this prayer. So first of all, let's look at Tara. Here she is. This is a picture that Rinpoche painted when he was a teenager. So we just visualize Tara in the sky, okay? Tara in this this is the Sambhogakaya form. This is the enjoyment body form, this indestructible light body that only the Arya bodhisattvas can see. So the Guru is manifesting in this form all the time, all over the universe in countless bodies. So we think of Lama Zopa Rinpoche already manifesting as Tara, but we can't see her. So we are praying to Tara. We're going to visualize Tara in the sky and light coming from her heart as we say this sweet prayer of longing, implicitly requesting Rinpoche to come back as quickly as possible in a form that we can see and hear. You'll see the words, It's just a very sweet prayer of devotion. So now we'll say the prayer. You just meditate on the words or join in with me as you wish. Here we go, a song of longing for Tara, the infallible. And this is written by this sweet monk back in the 19th century. I think this is a prayer to Venerable Tara in heart words, making his own requests and also non-deceptive to others, was composed by the Buddhist monk Lobsang Tempe Gyaltsen in his 19th year, the Watermouse year, 1852. Okay, so this is boy in retreat, this monk, with his love for Tara, probably having a direct vision of Tara. We visualize this as Lama Zopa Rinpoche manifesting in this form, and we're praying to him to please come in a form we can recognize, to bless us. So from my heart, I bow to divine Mother Tara, essence of love and compassion, the most precious objects of refuge gathered into one. From now until I reach enlightenment, hook me with your great love and kindness to liberate me. By the witness of the three jewels, not just from my mouth, but from the depths of my innermost heart and bones, I pray to you morning and night. Show your blissful face to me, loving one, Grant me the nectar of your speech. Great gurus and small gurus cheat us with their made-up teachings, selling Dharma, teaching without comprehension, not observing who is qualified and who is not, being concerned about their own happiness and the 8 worldly concerns. Since I can no longer trust friends of this degenerate age, you are my principal guru. Inspire me, Divine Mother, essence of love, arouse the great power of your compassion, and think of me. I take refuge in you, Tara. Like you, no Buddha could ever deceive me. But understanding the odd character of these times, most Buddhas have gone into the bliss of nirvana. Even though they have great compassion, we have no connection. Since for me, there are no other deities, you are my principal deity. Bestow realizations upon me, Divine Mother, essence of love. Arouse the great power of your compassion and think of me. Most Dharma protectors do not show their powers. Tired of those who invoke them, they don't act. Other protectors, lacking insight but proud of their power, may be friendly for a while but will later do me harm. Since I can't rely on other protectors, you are my principal protector. With divine action, wisdom mother, essence of love, arouse the great power of your compassion and think of me. To ordinary view, the names of objects are the same as their meaning. Like this, they produce afflictions and bind us to samsara. When it's time to die, unless I understand the true nature, could a wish-fulfilling gem enable me to carry even a sesame seed with me? Since I don't trust in illusions, you are my real richness. Please grant my desires, Divine Mother, essence of love. Arouse the great power of your compassion and think of me. I can't rely on non-virtuous friends for even a day. They pretend to be close to me and all the while have in mind the opposite. They're friends when they wish it and enemies when they don't. Since I can't trust in this kind of friend, you are my best friend. Be close to me, Divine Mother, essence of love. Arouse the great power of your compassion and think of me. You are my guru, my yidam, my protector, my refuge, my food, my clothes, my possessions, and my friend. Since your divine quality is everything to me, let me spontaneously achieve all that I wish. Although I'm overwhelmed by my habitual uncontrolled mind, please cut these self-centered thoughts so I'll be able to give my body and my life millions of times without difficulty to each sentient being. Inspire me to be able to develop this kind of compassion to benefit all. Empower me to cut the root of samsara, self-grasping, and to understand the pure doctrine, the most difficult middle way, free from the errors of extremes. Inspire me to practice as a bodhisattva, turning away from what is worldly, dedicating all my virtues to teaching living beings. Never for even one instant thinking of just my own happiness. Let me wish to attain Buddhahood for the benefit of all. Empower me to actualize as much as possible the most subtle vows and to keep them without a careless mind, thus becoming the most perfect bodhisattva. Outwardly, let me be simple in my practice, while inwardly actualize the depth of the diamond vehicle with the strong wish to practice the 2 stages. Inspire me to attain enlightenment quickly for the benefit of all. Divine Wisdom Mother Tara, you know everything about my life, my ups and downs, my good and bad. Think lovingly of me, my only mother. I give myself and all who trust in me to you, Divine Wisdom Mother Tara, being completely open to you. Let me be born in the highest pure land. Set me there quickly with no births in between. May the hook of your compassion and your skillful means transform my mind into Dharma and transform the minds of all beings, whoever they are. They've all been my mother, the mother of one unable to follow the conqueror's teachings. By reciting this prayer 3 times a day and by remembering Divine Wisdom Mother Tara, may I and all beings who are connected to me reach whatever pure land we wish. May the 3 jewels, and especially the Divine Wisdom Mother, whose essence is compassion, hold me dear until I reach enlightenment. May I quickly conquer the 4 negative forces. So now we imagine Tara in the sky, Precious Lama Tara. And as we say the mantra a few times, she sends powerful light into us, removing all the obstacles that we have created to not see the guru directly, and remove all those obstacles so we can create the cause for Rinpoche to come quickly and be there and meet him and hear his words and see his holy body in whatever form he considers appropriate. Om Tare Tutare Ture Soham, Tare Tutare Ture Swaham, Tare Tutare Ture Swaham. Om Tare Tutare Ture Swaha. And now I can share the prayers. Bill, please share the prayers.
Can you
We can-
unshare first, Robina?
Oh, I see. I have to do that, do I?
Yes.
Okay, there we go. Yeah, shall we just say these prayers now from our hearts? By His Holiness for a start? Yes. And then Jada Rinpoche, and then Kandrila. Good. Healers, teacher, and assembly of the children of the victorious ones, Shravakas and Pratyeka Buddhas, victorious Lozang, father and sons, along with the lineage masters, all the objects of refuge of infinite lands, please bestow the virtue and goodness of accomplishing this prayer here and now. Holding and spreading the Muni's practice and complete teachings through explanation and practice, you wore the armor of patience that is never discouraged. Incomparable venerable Guru, to you I make request. While striving single-pointedly for the sake of the victorious one's teachings, the sole gateway through which all benefit and happiness emerge, and from other living beings, you suddenly departed to peace. Such a great loss. Nevertheless, through the undeceiving truth of the blessings of the ocean of the three jewels and the great waves of bodhicitta of the children of the victorious ones, may the smile of a reincarnation swiftly beam in glory for fortunate disciples. Jada Rinpoche, patient in bearing the hardships of spreading the teachings of the Muni in general and the teachings of the victorious Jamgon in hundreds of directions, Lord of Dharma, holding the three vows and wearing saffron robes, please quickly return as the glory of the fearless teaching. Maybe mute.
Oh.
We can say, it's hard because our voices are synchronizing. So that's what, yes, now the prayer's gone. There we go. You held the teachings of explanation and practice with great asceticism, unable to bear that transmigratory beings are confused by the darkness of suffering. Through your great loving kindness, you skillfully led them to happiness. Unparalleled son of the teachings, please return quickly. Beautified by the ornament of supreme patience in increasing the practice of the supreme authentic teachings of the victorious one through listening, reflection, and meditation, guide of all transmigratory beings along the perfect path, true and perfect pure Guru, please return quickly. So a lamenting wail, a supplication for the swift return of Rinpoche by Kandrila. Guru, think of me. Guru, consider me. Most gracious root Guru, care for me. Most gracious root Guru, do not deprive us of your compassion and refuge. Listen and consider this heartfelt prayer made by a tormented disciple. Guru, embodiment of the Buddhas of the 3 times, please bless me. You may rest in all-pervading great bliss, equipoise within the Dharma, the Dhatu of unimpeded luminosity, yet the playful dance of your loving compassion emanates in myriad ways. The time has come for the return of the swift appearance of your magical wisdom, the Rupakaya, and for you to care for us once again with your affectionate compassion. Arise, arise, arise from the Dharmakaya. I invoke you, I call upon you, I implore you on behalf of all beings. Do not rest in Kechara or other pure realms. Rather, to benefit the Buddha's teachings and all living beings, swiftly return to this southern continent to spread the Buddha Dharma of study and realization. Quickly return to guide us, poor, wretched beings. Such is the desperate cry of us, your disciples. Return so that we may actually behold your presence and receive the blessings of your body, speech, and mind. All violations, errors, mistakes, and broken samaya that we've made in relation to your body, speech, mind, and spontaneous activity through our being confused and conceiving things in erroneous ways, we confess within the luminous emptiness of your 3 kayas. Of everything auspicious, the supreme auspiciousness, may there be the auspiciousness of emptiness and compassion. May there be the auspiciousness of a timely meeting between master and disciples. Through the force of the truth of unchanging suchness, may the unmistaken incarnation return quickly. More. This lament was made by me, a Dakini, with pure faith and samaya, her eyes filled with tears of sorrow. May these wishes of a beggar woman be fulfilled through the blessings of the deities of the 3 roots. Perception, its object, and the perceiver all dissolve within the expanse, the blissful clarity of suchness. Okay, people, thank you so much. So we keep moving, we keep practicing, we keep aspiring, we keep our minds happy, try to stay focused, realize we are the boss, we are in charge. Don't look around for someone who's going to save you. Don't look around for someone who's going to, reward you or something or punish you. We are the boss. Take control, be in charge. And then we'll become like the Lama. And open the heart, have devotion, makes the mind happy. Jangchob, Semchog, Rinpoche, Ma Ke Panam, Ke Gyuchi, Ke Panyampa, Me Payang, Gongne, Gondu, Babashog. May we never develop, even for a moment, wrong views towards the deeds of our most precious gurus, with faith and respect gained from seeing their goodness. May their full inspiration flow into our hearts. Thank you, Bill. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you for this wonderful teaching. Robina, it was a wonderful teaching tonight. It really was amazing. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
And we'll see you soon, I hope. Please live very long and continue to teach us.
Thank you.
Please.
Goodbye, everybody. Thank you, darling, so much, everyone. Much love. Goodbye.